and welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest today is Shareefa. Shareefa is a model, presenter, mental health activist, plant-based, and Shareefa is also a runner. Thanks for coming to the Sanctuary today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, I'll start with running because that's something I just do not get. How did you get into running?
It's a really funny question because a lot of people ask me this, and I think running has been part of my life for a long time. I remember the first time I wanted to go and we have in the UK this thing called Cancer Research UK, and it's a platform, obviously, that a charity that fundraisers for cancer research. And I remember seeing one of these 5K, you could like run it or you could walk it. And I think I was probably about 16 years old. I wasn't very old. And I remember saying to my mum, should we give it a go? Like, I don't come from a very active family. And my mum was like, wow, no, well, it's going to be too difficult. We're going to have to walk it. I remember walking along and it was a really beautiful sunny day and thinking, those people are running it and I want to be running it. And so I think that was my introduction into running. It was more, I was always interested in the challenges that you could do and the ways that you could fundraise and use it as an opportunity to get people talking about things. So I guess that was my introduction into running. I ran my first 10K, I think when I was 21, just graduated from drama school. Dance and drama school. So I was pretty fit at the time, and 10K was like nothing to me. Whereas now 10K is so difficult, 10 years on, So I'm pretty sure that's how I got into it.
And how do you prepare for these races you run?
Pardon?
How do you prepare for the races you run?
So how do I prepare? I mean, you have to train. Like, I think I used to, when I was a bit younger, I used to just kind of turn up and hope for the best. And my young, able body was able to just kind of carry me without any injuries. But the more I start running I've started running longer distances now. So when you get to like running, 15 miles and half marathons, you really do have to train. So I do have a little schedule. I have this giant wall calendar, and it has the days that I run and then the days that I do other things, like I swim, I row, so cross training, I do yoga in between to like stretch and rest. So I'm generally quite an active person, and I don't just run. I think it's really important to remember that you can't just run. You have to do other stuff as well. And that's definitely something I learned along the way. And after running my half marathon and feeling like I was not going to make it to the end, and I had a lot of like pain afterwards, I've learned lots of different ways that you can prepare your body for that. So I would definitely recommend cross training and stuff.
Yeah. One of the things on your Instagram is how one of these races you did, I think last year, maybe 2 years ago. It was a 10K. Was it a London 10K? I think that it was covered by the Runner's World, and it was you and a lot of ladies running in their undergarments.
Yeah, that happened. I'm just laughing because I'm remembering the day, and I'm remembering the underwear, and I'm remembering running past the Queen's house in my knickers, which was great. Yeah, so that was the Vitality 10K, and it was a little group of us, and we were the Celebrate You women. So it was basically to celebrate and reclaim our bodies and, kind of do something different. It was an amazing day, like very liberating.
Yeah, I remember, and so there was this little clip that was run. I think it was by Runner's World and the lady. And one of the things that stood out for me was that it's like it ended up being a really hot day, so you were pretty much dressed for the weather.
Yeah, we were like, it was the best day. I went home with the most epic tan. I mean, I did have some tan lines, but it was a perfect day for it. And honestly, you look at athletes and that is how these sprinters they dress like
Right.
that. And I guess
Right.
it's interesting because I think society has made us, anyone who doesn't have this conventionally attractive, and I'm using air quotation marks for anyone who's listening to this, conventionally attractive body. I think society has tried to make us feel ashamed of that. And this is a way, I'm a size 18 to 20 woman running along in my underwear. I'm not an athlete, but there's no reason why I can't run like that if I want to. If they can run like that, I can run like that. And I think it was a really powerful moment for all the women running it, because I do think that a lot of us, particularly women, are made to feel ashamed about their body if it's not that perfect body. So it was really an inspiring and powerful day.
Yeah. And now, like, do you run just to run, or do you like have to start practicing when the race is coming?
Do I run do I
Just for
just
the
run
fun
all
of
the
it,
time?
yeah?
Oh, no, that's crazy. I wouldn't do that.
I'm
No,
like,
no, my gosh. So for me, I love the challenge. I love the challenge of being like, if someone says, can you run 10K? I'm like, no, but I'm going to try. Or, can you run a marathon? I'm like, no, but I'm going to try. So I'm a very challenge driven person. I need an end goal. Otherwise, there is no way that I'm getting out of bed. There is no way that I'm not going to sleep in. If I don't have that goal and something to hold me accountable, the running is just not going to happen. So
uh,
I find running probably the hardest sport, like swimming and cycling. Swimming I actually find very difficult, but I enjoy it more. I'm not as good at it though. And cycling I love and would do that for fun. But running for me is more like a challenge that I know is great for my body. And so, and when I do run for a long time, I do start to really enjoy it. But every run ever that I've ever done in my whole life, I've dreaded it. I will dread my run
wait,
tomorrow.
during or after or before?
The, during, at the beginning, somewhere in the middle, perhaps. It's only at the end. I'm like, yes, this was great. There are moments. There are always moments that I'm like, this is amazing. Like the right song is playing, the wind is blowing in the right direction. There are definitely moments that I love, and I do experience that runner's high, but which kind of keeps me coming back, I think. But generally speaking, like I think I've always loved running for the community aspect. I'm such a people person. Like, I just love being around people, and but being around people in a way that's not just going to the bar or going out with your friends. Like, it's actually something that's inspiring everyone and encouraging us all to do something good. I know it sounds really cheesy, and like I'm doing a Miss World speech there, but I love it. I think it's nice and it's wholesome, and families come and it's lovely. So
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned something just now about community. You love that, and love being with people. How was it for you during the lockdown the last year?
yeah, that's a good question. And it's it's been a very challenging year. I don't want to go into a woe is me moment because we all dealt with a very difficult time globally. A great saying that somebody said to me recently was, we're not all in the same boat, but we are all in the same storm. So that really rang true for me. I think my challenge was being alone. I live by myself in London, in a little flat, and in the height of winter, pardon me, in the height of winter where there was no greenery and it was freezing cold, and unfortunately our COVID cases and deaths were rising quite rapidly. It was a difficult time. Like, my mental health really struggled, but my situation is definitely not unique. I think some people were surrounded by their families or their friends, but they may have felt that loneliness because it's that that classic saying of you can be in a crowded room, but you can still feel alone. And I think sometimes you need those few people that you really connect with. Sometimes you just need to be with those people. So, it was a hard year. It was really challenging, but I don't think it's unique to me.
And what things helped you cope and live through it?
Wow. So I really had to exercise my coping strategies. I think because, again, I'm such a people person. I'm not used to being by myself. So being plunged into this lockdown and being completely alone was a new thing for me. Some people are great at being by themselves. Like my friends who were only child, like they're only child, they're fine. They were like, this is my life. Like I have siblings, so I really had to learn how to be by myself, and I had to go through it. Like I had to kind of sit with myself and those uncomfortable things and do a bit of inner work. I had a lot of reading. I read everything. I really went into full self-development mode as well. Like I wasn't able to focus on my work because most of my work and contracts were cancelled. So I had to just really try and make the best of it. I was mindfulness coloring, I was meditating, but then on other days I was sleeping till noon and crying until midnight, I was just taking it each day as it comes. But I think we all were. I connected with a lot of people on social media. I think that was a bit of a lifeline for me. And I know that's going to sound really strange, but I've never used social media in the way that I used it this year. This year, I felt like I had this extended family and we were all sharing what we were up to. And when I caught coronavirus in January, I can't believe how many messages I had. I had hundreds of messages, people saying, I'm in London. If you want me to bring you any food to your doorstep, then I can definitely do that. So social media became like a real community for me. So there was, of course, I tried to stay on top of my exercise as much as possible. But when the motivation wasn't there, I had to just like release the guilt. And, I had moments of, I used to have an eating disorder. So I had moments of slipping back into my old habits with my disordered eating when it came to food, which could be eating too much or eating too little. So I really had to pay attention to that. But it was a lot of self-work, a lot of maintenance, a lot of crying. Yeah. But there was also some good times too. And I turned vegan, which was great. That
was another thing. So I was watching a live you did. I can't remember with who, but it was great. And you were sharing and you're talking about actually being fully plant-based. What was was it like the experience you had during the lockdown that made you go full plant-based?
There are so many reasons. I don't know where to start. So this year we've had a chance to, I think a lot of us have had a chance to really reflect on our lives and ourselves, but also the world we live in. And maybe some things have been highlighted globally this year that we wouldn't have all paid attention to, like Black Lives Matter, and lots of issues that are going on in the world that normally, if our lives were just as they were, we would probably not pay attention. But this year it's been like everything has had a microscope held up to it. And for me, that microscope has been the environment and has been all of the issues that we're facing when it comes to climate change and what it really means. And so when I said I read a lot, I spent a lot of time reading books and scientific studies and becoming a bit obsessed with the environment and how can I reduce my impact. So I kind of started with making those eco-friendly switches, like the change the shampoo and change the cleaning products and biodegradable this and less plastic. But what I discovered, and I actually discovered this from Plant-Based News, which is a great platform that I love and I follow really closely, is that the leading cause of climate change is animal agriculture, and it's responsible for, I don't want to get the statistic wrong, so I'm not going to say it, because I have a horrible habit of saying statistics that I just make up. But it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm just going to say research that. But that's definitely a very big part of it. And so
Yeah.
I thought the best thing that I can do is make changes to my diet. But I also thought that potentially it might be good for my IBS, because I read a great book from the Plant Power Doctor talking about the health benefits of plant-based living on IBS. And I suffered with IBS for about 4 years, quite badly, to the point of where I actually went to hospital once I lived in Australia. Yeah, because I was so ill with it. So I really was struggling with it, and nothing had seemed to help. I'd gone on the low FODMAP diet. I'd cut things out. I tried everything. And amazingly, after about a week of going on this plant-based diet, my IBS that I struggled with so much completely disappeared. And it's been about 4 and a bit months now since I've gone to Whole Foods plant-based living, and my IBS is practically non-existent. So this for me is like an amazing transformation, and I felt like I really wanted to share this with my audience, which is why I was reaching out to different platforms, plant-based platforms, to kind of talk about this. But yeah, so I think my reasons would be the environment, health, but also in my reading and my research, I learned about animal agriculture and how horrendous it is. I always knew that it was bad, but seeing the suffering and the pain caused to the animals. I think, I love dogs, I love cats. Why are pigs and cows and sheep any different? And if we have alternatives, and this is it can be quite a contentious topic, because not everyone is able to eat vegan. I do believe that there is a level of privilege to eating vegan, but I think for those who can access it easily, I think it's great to try and make as many switches as possible, because it's when you actually kind of learn about what goes on within animal agriculture, it's horrendous. And I think I don't really want to be part of that. So those are my reasons. That's the end of my TED Talk. Sorry.
But like, does it get difficult though? I mean, if it's been like a couple of months now?
4 months. Honestly, absolutely not. It has probably been the best thing, and much easier than I imagined. So I used to be a vegan. I was a vegan 6 years ago. And it was actually more for the animals 6 years ago, because I'd learned about animal agriculture back then. And I really struggled to keep up my vegan diet, because 6 years ago, the access to vegan food was limited. You'd go out for a day and there would be no lunch. Like, you'd have to pack everything, all your lentils and everything. But now it's like, I live in London. It's like everywhere you turn, there's a vegan option. So it is definitely, again, that's again a level of privilege. Not everyone, London is an expensive place to live in itself. So not everyone has access to those things. So I haven't found it particularly difficult, and I also haven't missed meat or dairy, because of the fact that I just feel so much better. And I think once you realize that, I think we all have this myth that if you turn plant-based, you're going to die and you're not going to get enough protein and you're going to be anemic and you're going to be like this. And honestly, I thought those things myself. I thought, if I eat too much soy, then I'm going to have too much estrogen that's going to damage my hormones, and this is going to happen. But after reading and researching so many books and following loads of different platforms, I've come to learn that a lot of this stuff is just a myth. And we don't really need, and again, this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I truly believe this. I don't believe that we need to eat animal products at all to survive. The only argument that you really tend to hear is, well, where will you get your B12 from? Because B12 comes from beef generally. But B12 actually comes from soil. That's originally where it comes from. So, and there's a lot of argument to say that we are herbivores. We're supposed to actually eat, we're not omnivores. We're not supposed to actually eat meat. But again, that's going to be an unpopular opinion. So I'll probably just stop that one there. But yeah, I mean, I've become obsessed with all these platforms, and obviously I'm not an expert, so I can only speak on what I've learned.
Yeah. I mean, it's great because you took this decision and changed things in your life, and it's actually working better for you now. But one of the things I also love about your Instagram is how you kind of just put everything out there. There's a post you had on there that talks about broken veins. I don't know if you recall. Yeah. And like, you're writing this thing and it's something you've had for years and years and years and you've struggled with. But the photo that came with that caption was like putting it all there bare. When you take such photos and you're putting it and you're writing such a caption, like how, I guess, what is the process for that? Just, from you, how you're thinking of it and then actually going through and doing it.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. The process for me is, I always want to put this stuff out there because the beauty standard is not only problematic, but I think it's truly life-threatening for some people. When we look at eating disorders and we look at deaths relating to that, and you think about how, I mean, obviously when it comes to eating disorders, I can only speak briefly on it. I do believe that we can attribute these beauty standards to some of these eating disorders. You have, for generations, we've had these models that are the same size, they're the same color, they don't have cellulite, they don't have broken veins, they don't have stretch marks. They are these perfect anomalies. And for some reason, even though we know that nobody actually looks like that because they've been airbrushed and edited, we still, because of capitalism, thank you capitalism, we still want to look like this. And people die because of these beauty standards. It's very dramatic, but that is really my belief system, that people die, and young women and men struggle with their body image. And I think that these images play a huge role in that. And when I post on Instagram, of course, like, I like to put on a bit of makeup and put on a nice dress and look nice. Everyone does, and everyone should be able to. But I also want to show and remind people that, yes, I am a model, but I'm far from perfect. I'm a plus size model. I'm size 18. I have rolls. I have stretch marks. I have cellulite. And this is something, I had cellulite from when I was 14 years old. And, wow. I think we need to rewrite the narrative around what these things mean. This doesn't mean if you have cellulite or broken veins, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're not beautiful. It doesn't mean you're not worthy. And so a big thing that I want to do online is, and it's kind of a thing I've always had for myself, if I'm going to exist in the online space, I have to add value. And as soon as I stop adding value, I will delete my social media. My social media, I do monetize it to a certain degree, but with only a few brands and only the ones that really reflect my values. Otherwise, I actually turn down more partnerships than I take, to my detriment. And I think because social media can be incredibly powerful, and I don't want to just give my platform over to brands who are creating these impossible beauty standards. I care more about I just think about me when I was a little girl and I never saw anyone with an afro. I never saw anyone with my body size being represented in a way that wasn't like a joke, you know. You'll always have the quote unquote fat, funny woman actor. You know, you won't have the strong, the powerful, the curvy, the beautiful. That wasn't a thing. And so I'd love to see those barriers being broken down. And I think if I can try and do that, just not saying I'm all those things, but you know, I would love to try and showcase these things in a different light from what we already see them as. That was a really long-winded answer again, wasn't it?
No. That was great. Like, you know, you put it all together, because and it's not just that post. There are so many posts. There's like the one where you were exercising and you're talking about the jiggle. You know, it's like there are different posts, but it's kind of just talking about the same thing in a way, like, you know, in the same category. Like, you have to accept the body you are living in, and it's so powerful. But you mentioned, you know, introducing you that you're a model, one of the biggest agencies in the world. How did that happen? It is true. How did that happen? Stop it. How did that happen? How did you get to work with Wilhelmina?
How did it happen? Gosh, I was actually, rags to riches story here, but I was scouted when I was like 21, I think, in Oxford Circus. So very generic, by a different agency. And I had actually been, a couple of people had said to me, you should really get into modeling, you know, you should try it. And I was like, oh no, I can't do that. And anyway, I got scouted by a couple of agencies and eventually went in to see, sent my pictures off to see an agency and got signed on the day. Did some great work with them and then ended up moving on to Models One, which was another big agency. And I was with them for some time, but they were always wanting me to change my hair and make my hair, straighten my hair, and they wouldn't let me wear my hair natural. And I kept saying, you know, I think if you just let me wear my hair natural, then things will be like, I'll be working more. And they were like, no, that's not what the clients want. So I was wearing all these wigs, and eventually I got fed up with it. And I said, I don't want to wear these wigs anymore. I don't want to subscribe to this Eurocentric beauty standard, and I don't see why I should have to. So lo and behold, I said that to them, and I basically didn't work for a couple of years. I ended up working in a restaurant and going back to being a cleaner and doing some teaching assistant work. And you know, there's me cleaning the toilet thinking I could have been a model. But you know, I was really unhappy trying to be something that I'm not. And then I was offered, in I think it was 2017, I was offered a contract with Bella Management in Australia. And they were like, we want to give you a contract, fly over here. We think we've got some work for you. And so I was like, okay, I'm working in this restaurant. Like, I am signed with the big agency, but I'm not really working. And I remember getting off the plane and I got a text message on my phone pretty much as soon as I landed. Shareefa, you have a job, you have a campaign tomorrow, but did you bring your wig? Because we want you to wear your wig. I know. And my heart sank, you know, I've flown to the other side of the world. My heart sank. And when I saw my, model card, it had a picture of me with straight hair on the front. And even though I was actually ready to get back on that plane and just go back home, as I was sending this message, I said, look, no, sorry. I found a hairdresser in Sydney. That's it. I got my wig put on. I did the job. And then as soon as the job was finished, I messaged my agent and I said, thank you so much for the opportunity. However, I don't want to be in this country and be modeling with wigs on. This is basically what I'm trying to reinvent myself. And I said, please change my headshot on my model card. And I was like panicking as I was sending this message, like absolute anxiety. Because when a big agency offers you, it says, you know, come and work with us. You don't want to be like, I don't want to do what you're telling me to do. Anyway, anxieties, I was sending this. I sent it. And about 2 minutes later, I got a message back from my booker, Catherine, and she said, okay, no problem. And she changed my headshot to a picture of me with afro hair. And from there, I booked so much work. I think it was the most I'd ever worked. I worked with every brand. I was on telly. I was on billboards. I was with my natural hair. And that was the last time I ever wore a wig. And so when I came back, I was there for 2 years. And when I came back halfway through the year, I visited Wilhelmina. And that's when I was like, I'm back from Australia for a bit. And here's the work that I've been doing. And they were like, great, well, we'll take you. So I signed with Wilhelmina when I came back from Australia. About a year later, I started working with them pretty consistently. And then that was history. And they're wonderful. So, and they get my vision. And they don't ever tell me I have to change my hair unless I want to. And yeah, they really respect that. So they're an amazing agency. So I'm really grateful to be with them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the thing, when a person, like, this is me and I know I look good this way and I know I'll feel. Like, I think when we change things about ourselves, we are not as comfortable, and that comes off, especially doing what you do where you're like in front of cameras all day. The camera just picks up all the tiny little things because you're not feeling comfortable wearing the wig or whatever. But when you're natural hair and you're just yourself, like, it's like a sparkle just comes through, and it shows in your photos. Like, because you have like your model card on the Wilhelmina website. It's like, wow, outstanding. But like, did COVID change anything at all or a lot?
Yeah, so I want to add something to what you just said there. I also want to say that to anyone listening to this, I support Black women being able to wear their hair in whatever way they see fit, or black or brown or mixed race or whoever. But I think it should always be your choice. And that is the issue that I have. And I think that for me felt like a modern day version of oppression, being told that I had to change my hair to have an opportunity in the industry. And that was the problem. So I just want to point out that I don't feel that women wearing their hair in their way is they can wear their hair however they like. So that's it.
No, it's true, because like the thing that made you feel uncomfortable was that they made you wear your hair the way you didn't want to wear it. So yeah, no, thanks for pointing that out. Yeah. But like, I mean, you're doing all these jobs, getting all these bookings, then COVID happened. That had to affect things, right?
Definitely. I think in the first week of COVID happening, every contract that I had or every job I had coming up, I remember that week opening my inbox and not wanting to read my emails, because it was like, this job is cancelled. I had lots of clients overseas, so France and Germany. I'm signed in different places around the world. So my clients that I would travel internationally to go and see, I could no longer work with them. I think I had a 5-day location shoot coming up that was cancelled. So, and what I do when I have bookings is I write down, the amount of money that is expected to come in on a little spreadsheet. And I just had to go through this spreadsheet and just cross them all off. Just watch my poor bank account saying, Shareefa, no. I think at the time it was quite stressful because there was no guidance for what was going to happen. It was just like, sit tight, stay home. You can't leave the house. You can't work. And, work from home if you can. I'm like, how do I work from home? I model. And at the time, I wasn't really doing that much work on social media either. So my ways to make money became very stressful. So this year has been a lot of pivoting, navigating, innovating. And luckily, like in between, I've been really fortunate because as soon as the lockdowns lifted, clients would then suddenly start shooting again. So those things have semi-sustained me, and social media. But yeah, it has been a difficult year, and it's been a lot of there wasn't support for everyone. There was support for certain people. If you fall through the cracks, then it's a little bit like fend for yourself, which again, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. But you know, this is the life, and we are all still here. Well, anyone who's listening to this is still here. So I have to just count my chickens while I can, and hopefully, I think things are starting to pick up again.
Yeah, and then you mentioned your social media. Let's talk about that, because I know you mentioned this. I'm like, you have a ton of following, and you're like, no, you don't, but you do. You do. How did you build your following on Instagram specifically, and how do you handle your Instagram? Because we talked about you putting like really vulnerable, really this is me posts, but like, how do you navigate that? And like, there's gotta be like, it's the internet, right? There are always trolls and assholes.
Yeah,
It's true.
there's lots of trolls and there's lots of assholes. But I think they always outweigh the good people, because my Instagram community typically have been very lovely, and I DM pretty much everyone back. So my friends think I'm crazy. They're like, Shareefa, you can't DM back 28,000 people. I'm like, I can and I will. And do you know what? I had the time to this year. So I, but so I get a lot of the same people commenting, and which is really wonderful. But I think as my following grows, then obviously start to get different demographic and new people. And every time I get more followers, I do start to feel a bit more anxious. I didn't purposefully grow a following. I think it just came naturally with the work that I was doing. So when I do a big campaign, or if I did something that went viral, or like modeling wise, or I used to be involved in lots of body positivity campaigns. So anything like that, I would then kind of get followers from that, or any press that I've done, or news related stuff. The followers kind of came that way. I don't actively grow my following, and I'm really impressed with influencers who can do that, because it's difficult. It's really hard. It's really hard. And you have to, it's an art. Like, you have to know what's trendy, and but I don't really post like that. I just really post about things that I care about and things I want to talk about, and hope that people are interested. And I think most of the time people seem to be fairly interested, so that's good. But yeah, I am quite vulnerable online, but I think I need to manage that and have a few more boundaries, because I recently had some death threats on my social media, and that was quite scary. And the death threat that I did get was somebody saying that they knew where I lived, and
Shit.
they were correct with the where I lived. So that was a worry, and luckily I'm moving house soon. So
Whoa, sorry about that. Like,
oh,
I
that's
mean,
okay.
when
It
you
wasn't
get
you,
such a
was
thing
it?
like,
I knew there was something about your face.
but like, I mean, when you get something like that, you have to turn it into the police, right?
Do you know what? I was actually really shaken up about it, and I didn't. And I feel silly, because I should have done, but I deleted it and blocked it, and reported, but I didn't. And everyone was like, "So what did the police say?" I was like, "It's hard to say what they would have said."
Right.
So
right,
I
right,
didn't,
right.
but I will make sure that I do it next time. And I only had one, like, and maybe I should still, I don't know if I should message, just drop them a line and just let them know. But yeah, it was, yeah, it's difficult sometimes. Social media is hard. And I think this year also I think people are upset this year. This has been a really horrible, difficult year. There's so much going on. And I think you can kind of feel that, like when you read the comments on big accounts, and a lot of my influencer friends have said this, people are just at each other's throats, and there's no release. And, lots of people are still in lockdowns at the moment. And obviously in the UK, we're not, but there's so much going on. So I also try to have a bit of compassion and remember that these people, they don't know me. They just know what I choose to post.
Right.
And so I think it's really important that I remember that I am not my Instagram. And if someone says something about me, I'm like, well, that's not me. That's my representation of me that you see. I mean, it is mostly me, but someone said to me once, gosh, Shareefa, I know everything about your life. And I thought, well, you really don't. If you did, I'm not sure you would still follow me. But, you don't. You never. I think it's always important, even if someone. I'm authentic with what I say. I never tell lies on social media. But I don't share everything. I think that would be strange if I did.
I know it wasn't me, by the way.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's not what I've heard.
So, another thing that you're really passionate about is mental health. Why?
I'm very passionate about mental health. Oh, for so many reasons. I think the main thing just being that I think it's still not considered as important as physical health. And I find that shocking because there's no health without mental health. And the stigma that goes with mental illness and even just talking about your own mental health, I think feels like we're living in a different time. It doesn't feel like we're living in 2021. So I'm really passionate about, I'm an ambassador for the suicide prevention charity Calm, which is the leading charity in male suicide prevention. And, male suicide is the biggest killer of men under the age of 45 in the UK. So it's a huge, huge issue. We're comfortable talking about, we're not comfortable, but there will be no shame or no judgment if someone talks about having cancer or having a broken leg or having, a lot of illnesses. But as soon as people talk about suicide or mental health, I think it's always treated very differently by mental health professionals, not mental health professionals, but healthcare professionals and people in society. It's uncomfortable conversation. So I like to try and talk about it openly and in a very nonchalant way, because to me, we should just be having these conversations. I don't see why it should be any different to any other conversation relating to health.
Yeah. And, one thing I've learned is that the more you talk about it, the easier it gets to talk about it.
Definitely. And if we know that the way to help people with their mental health problems is talking, then surely that is the freest, cheapest, cheapest, easiest way that we can help people and help each other towards better health. Is to create a safe space for people to speak openly about these things. I think so much of what people struggle with is having to deal with these things alone and not being able to tell anyone, or having shame to tell their employer or their friends and family that they're depressed or anxious or whatever's happening in their life. So I think it's really important that we talk about it more.
Yeah, no, I agree with you too. But oh God, I just look at the time. We're running somewhat out of time, but I'll let you go soon. I wanted to talk about your work with presenting. That's something you are kind of doing now. Do you want to talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm signed with an agency called United Agents. I was really happy when they took me on, actually, because they've got some great presenters on their books, and they're a really great recognizable agency, and they've helped me a lot to kind of build up my show reel. But presenting was, before the pandemic, was actually really starting to pick up for me. I booked 2 jobs. One was in, I don't remember where now, somewhere out of the country, somewhere away. And I was starting to really book some good stuff. And then lockdown happened, and I think budgets cut, and I feel like I've kind of taken a small step back. but still managed to make some money through presenting this year, which is really exciting, and something I've always loved and always been really passionate about, and but actually didn't really have the confidence to try.
Oh.
So I think it was years ago that I was like, I think I want to try presenting. And then I remember working with this girl who said to me, oh, don't bother to try presenting. You know, it's really difficult and you're never going to be, you know, they only have a few presenters and there's no point in trying, so just give up. And
Wow.
I was really young and I was like, okay then. So I was so scared that I just didn't give it a go, and I was too afraid to try it out. But then I remember when I was a waitress and people would say to me, gosh, you should be a presenter. You'd be a really good presenter. And I remember this lady, what was her name? Steph Wagstaff. I remember she was a producer of this TV show called Wife Swap. And I remember serving her table. And at the end, she came up to me and she said, you really need to not be a waiter. You need to be a presenter. Like, you are wasted in this job. Please go and do that. Then obviously I went off to Australia and did a bit of presenting work when I was there. And then when I came back, I thought, I'm going to give it a bit of a go, and got my agent. And since then, it's building. So it's a really, it's a very difficult job. It's quite saturated in the UK and there's lots of presenters and only a few spots. So, you know, but I'm always, when I book anything, I'm always pleased that anyone wants to hire me, and feeling positive about where it can head to. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What do you love about presenting though?
What I love about presenting, oh my gosh, I think it's just like having the power to reach people. And, you know, I don't really see myself on entertainment, game show, TV, you know. I actually feel more inspired by like presenters like Stacey Dooley and people who are kind of using that platform to have great conversations or make positive change. And so I think, like anything, I think when you have a platform and you're able to communicate with people, you can just, there's so much power in that.
Like, if you were to, you know, of all the shows and all the presenters, you mentioned one that inspires you, but if you were to present a show that's out there on TV, which one would it be?
Oh my gosh. If I was to present a show that was out there on TV, which one would it be? Oh my gosh, it's hard to say, isn't it? I should probably know the answer to this. Can I make up a new show?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah.
Something to do with diversity and representation, or something to do with the environment, I think.
Oh.
There's loads of shows about the environment. I can't think of one specifically, but yeah, it'd be something along the lines of that.
Talking about diversity, and, you know, one of the posts you had on your Instagram is the Vogue one. Do you know? Remember this? And you mentioned something I didn't know, that like they've only had one black photographer in years and years and years.
I know.
That was shocking to find out.
I have to laugh, honestly, because this is the industry, and I think even though I guess not a lot of people would see it from the other side, like people see the images that these brands put out, but they don't see what happens behind the scenes. And in the modeling industry, in my experience of working in Australia, New Zealand, France and Germany, the UK, and briefly with a few US brands as well. In my experience, it's a very white industry. And there's not a lot of decision makers that are of a diverse origin. I think, I don't really know why that is, but I really hope that we can change that soon, because I think it shows in the advertising. We can see when things are quite tokenistic or performative, you know, including one black person and one Asian person and one LGBTQIA plus person and one plus size person, and let's just have one of each, like a pick and mix, but you can tell they don't really mean it, and and I think you can also tell that because they only have one view, which is that very biased view of what beauty is, probably comes from the, of course, naturally, white people are probably going to think that white people are the most attractive. I mean, that's my guess, but I think that would make sense, wouldn't it? So I think that is reflected in the beauty standard, and it's reflected in advertising. And I do believe it comes from this kind of white system, which we need to break down, and hopefully we can infiltrate and have some more black photographers and Asian makeup artists and, like a whole plethora of people creating these images. And I think we will have so much more color and beauty in the images that we see. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's almost like listening to a song on the radio. You know how, like, maybe there's a song, the first time you hear it, you cannot stand it, and then it just plays on the radio every time you come on, till one day you find you're singing along. That's kind of how it is with, like, the modeling thing, because, like, if that's what you see, subconsciously, you just think that's what it should be when that isn't reflecting the real world,
That is so true, and I agree with you completely. And that's what we need to change. And I think I like to think that things are changing, but it just, not much has changed since I've been in the industry, and that's been about 9 years now. So
wow.
Some things have changed, but not a lot. So
okay. Yo, man, it's so much fun talking to you. Well, I'm gonna I'll ask this question before I ask you the last one. Your workout playlist, I love it, and I love that you encourage people to contribute to it. How do you curate that workout playlist? It's fun though. It's a fun playlist.
I'm glad you love the playlist. I love the playlist so much. So I only put one song in there. That playlist is made by my community. I'm doing the quote marks again for anyone listening, because I love this idea that and if you listen to it, there are so many eclectic. It's just so eclectic. It's like 1 minute you listen to rock, then you listen to indie, then you listen to pop, then you're listening to an old banger from the 80s. And you're like, what is this? This is such a strange adventure. I was insulted because my friend the other day said, you have really bad taste in music, Shareefa. And I said, well, I didn't make this playlist. This is everyone's taste in music. And I just love, again, I think because I love community. I love the power of community to getting people active and getting people motivating each other. I really believe in that saying, Ubuntu. Do you know it? Ubuntu. Yep. Yeah. I actually might get that tattooed because I think that's my favorite saying that I've ever heard, my favorite word that I've ever heard. This idea that there is no I, there's only we, and we are a community. And I think there is so much power in that. And so I know it's so silly, but even if just something like a playlist can bring us together, I think most people love music. Everyone loves their own music for sure. So I thought a really nice way to connect everyone is this playlist. And so far, I've had lots of people messaging me saying, I didn't want to work out today, but I put the playlist on and I thought we can do it. And I love that. I listened to the playlist. I did a 5K run to the playlist the other day. My first run since the pandemic and everything happened because they were all cancelled. But I went to a test event and there was 3,000 people there and it was crazy. And I listened to the playlist and I was running alongside the other runners and I had the playlist on and it was a moment. I was going to cry. It was such a beautiful moment. And I hope that other people, maybe who have followed me for, some people have followed me for years. I hope that they would listen to it and feel that same sense of community, something to bring us together.
What was that? The photo with the metal floating in the air?
Yes.
It was
I guess you could say it was floating. I was throwing it, but yes.
yeah, but like, the shutter caught it right at the, while it was in, while you kind of levitated it off your palm. Yeah, I really do love the playlist though. I do.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
I'm gonna let you go with this one though. Something that has been a theme to me, just talking to you, reading about you, and just from your work, something that really stands out is people and community. And now with the playlist too, it came up again. Why is that really, really important to you?
So I think that we don't get to choose our family. You get born into a family, don't you? And sometimes, as much as everyone loves their family, sometimes your family doesn't always reflect all of your values. And so, I think you have to kind of, as you get older as well, and as you move away from your family, my family are in different parts of the country, and my old friends from school are in a different part of the country. So you kind of end up making your own community and your own family with the people that you choose and the people you choose to surround yourself with. And so I guess for me, my friends and my different networks are like kind of an extended family to me, like people who really reflect my values. And because me and my mum, we'll argue about being vegan until the cows come home. And I'll say, but mum, I'm a vegan. She'll say, but eat protein. And so we'll never agree on that probably, but I know that if I go and speak to my vegan community about something vegan related, they'll get it and they'll be like, yeah, totally, like cow's milk, yuck. So I guess that I think that there's so much power in like being able to find people that reflect your values, that old classic Instagram saying of like, find your tribe. And I really believe that finding your tribe can help you to be more confident in the person that you are and also feel connected and supported. And, but lots of my friends, again, they will also not want to hear about me talking about the environment and veganism and like lots of things that I bang on about, but there'll be loads of people that would love to hear that. So I think it's important to have that. So yeah, I think that's my answer.
Yeah, no, community is important. Shareefa, thank you for your time and thank you for, always speaking up, right? And using this massive platform you have to speak up for people that, look like you, people that have the same skin tone, people that are plus size, people that deal with mental health, and just seeing that it's okay to talk about these things. So thank you for coming to the sanctuary and just thank you for being you.
Oh, thank you. I felt very much like I was in the sanctuary being here. It's definitely a lovely place to be and I appreciate your time today too. Thank you.